Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the regular meeting of the Englewood Cliffs Mayor and Council. Today is August 8th. It's 8:30 p.m. I apologize, we're starting a little late. We got tied up in closed session. Would you all, hold on a second. You want to do the roll call first? Just do the roll call. Okay.
Mayor Kranjak?
Here.
Councilpersons Aversa?
Present.
E. Park? Present. O. Here. McMorro? Here. M. Park?
You.
Wu?
Here.
Borough Attorney?
Present.
Borough Administrator?
Here.
Superintendent of DPW?
Here.
And Municipal Clerk. Everyone's present.
Okay, let's begin this meeting as we begin all our meetings with the flag salute, please rise. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing for a moment of silence. I was just informed that we had a resident, Diane Fenk, passed away today, former councilwoman. And if anyone else has someone to add for remembrance, just add them right now, because I don't have anybody else.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
I've known Diane Sank, although she's on the other side of the aisle, even between the aisle and everything, a wonderful woman, cared about our town, and it's with sorrow that she's being passed. And we should all be proud of what she did for Englewood Cliffs.
Let's have a moment of silence. Thank you. Mark, can you put the air conditioner on? Madam Clerk, would you please read into the record the Open Public Meetings Act statement?
Adequate notice of this meeting was given to the press and posted as required. Date and time of this meeting was legally given as required by the Open Public Meetings Act. This notice is on file with the municipal clerk and posted on the bulletin board. Minutes of this meeting will be made available to the public upon the completion of typing and proofreading by the municipal clerk.
Okay, thank you very much. If you noticed, out in the hallway, we're taking up collections for the Office of Concern Food Pantry at St. Cecilia's Church. We do this every month. Appreciate greatly anyone who's brought a donation of non-perishable food items tonight. And that basket will be out there tonight and tomorrow morning as well. So if you forgot or you want to do it, just please drop it off. It's going to help the working poor of Bergen County, and there's plenty of people who fall into that category. I also want to mention that there's correspondence from Senator Loretta Weinberg regarding the Eastwood complaint. And before we get too far into this meeting, and I know everybody's been reading a lot in the papers, I've got a few things to say. Since I became mayor on January 3rd, 2016, I have often said that we can't fix America unless we fix our towns and cities. When I first said this, I never imagined just how true and prescient that statement was. I now know that Chief Chaffee started his surreptitious recordings of my conversations and those with others on January 4th, 2016, one day after I became mayor. His lawyer recently said that his client's recording was a bad idea, that he did not understand how to work his device, which was actually a borough-owned device, and that he did so because he was threatened. Threatened with what? In my world, asking someone to confidently do their job within their budget is not a threat. It's what they get paid for. And if they can't do it, then they should no longer have a job. Our residents do their jobs confidently every day at their work and their businesses. So why can't government employees do the same? Why should government be any different? Chief Chaffee's lawyer also told the press that he wants the recordings to be released, just like I do. Well, then why is he fighting us in court tooth and nail, along with two other Chaffee attorneys, to stop the release of the recordings? You can't have it both ways. One way for the press, and another way for the courts. Chief Chaffee's attorney also didn't mention that he pled the Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination in his deposition in his case a few weeks ago. And then a few days later tried to withdraw it by a letter from his attorney. Still hasn't answered those questions, has he? release the recordings. I've gotten a lot of support from residents about releasing those recordings, because that's the only way you actually know what's going on in your town, is you hear the people who are doing things. When Chief Chaffee, Lieutenant Tracy, others, and the PBA sued the borough and me for whatever, I repeatedly said, one, these lawsuits, as frivolous as they are, will undoubtedly expose all the wrongdoings of the ECPD and the political corruption prevalent in the ECPD. The corrupt relationship between the ECPD and the local Democratic Party is best highlighted by Chief Chaffee's own words. I hope you get to listen to them. We are now at a point in the litigations, which have not yet been dismissed, where we are now receiving the documents, and very, very unexpectedly, the recordings that were made surreptitiously, with borough equipment, yes, on borough time. You're paying for this. In fact, we have received over 120 recordings, with more on the way. The second thing I always said, and can now prove beyond any doubt, is that all the lawsuits are linked as part of a larger conspiracy to harass and target me and other elected officials. And with us, every good citizen of Englewood Cliffs has been targeted by the second highest paid police force in New Jersey and the fifth highest paid police chief in New Jersey. They're all causing the borough to waste resources and cash. Shame on them. As it turns out, their rights were always intact while our rights were being trampled. We are the victims. You are the victims. Everything I have said since becoming mayor that was taking place in terms of waste and corruption between the Englewood Cliffs Police Department and the local Democratic Party has been proven in these recordings, which, as I pointed out to the chief, the recordings are better than the proverbial fly on the wall, because flies do not record. Think about all that. We are all victims of targeting and corruption by our own police department. People who we pay 1/3 of our taxes to. Well, there are others who are employed by our tax dollars, and those who include the good women and men of the Bergen County Prosecutor's Office and U.S. Attorney's Office for the District of New Jersey. I place my faith in them and in our state and federal judges to sort all this out. I'm not the judge. I'm just bringing it out. Remember, through their own arrogance, Chaffee, Tracy, and the PBA went to these courts and shrieked of unfairness, when in fact, it was them all along who were being unfair to us. While the world is full of cry-bullies, that does not mean we need to employ them. To the good men and women, to the good men of the ECPD, and I hope someday women as well, I will still help you, as I always said. It is a bit unclear at the moment who did what in some cases, but we will sort it all out. Having said all that, I am now at a point where I will share with you things I like and things I don't like. Things I like. I like knowing that I have the support of the vast majority of Englewood Cliffs residents to release the chief's unlawful tape recordings and let the truth be known to everyone, and not just some inner circle of lawyers and insurers, as has been the historic case. I like knowing that once the truth is known, I can deal with everything, restore our democracy, and rid ourselves of past corruption forever. I thank our residents for their overwhelming support over the past 2.5 years, and especially in the week since I went very public with the contents of the recordings. I also like knowing that people throughout Bergen County and the states of New Jersey and New York have been reaching out to me with their support for what my team and I are doing. They see shades of Englewood Cliffs corruption in their own towns and are prepared to deal with it. Again, I am fixing America one town at a time. I like knowing that there are public officials in the Bergen County Prosecutor's Office and U.S. Attorney's Office who are also taxpayer-supported servants who will listen to these recordings and evaluate them on their own for criminality and deal with the outcomes. I also like knowing that there are judges who will listen as well and take into account the public's awesome interest in knowing what took place and the arrogance of power and the abuse of power. Now, things I don't like. One, I don't like cloaking oneself in a law enforcement uniform and not honoring that uniform and the badge that goes with it. There are some members of the Englewood Cliffs Police Department who have avoided becoming embroiled in the problems, and I commend you, and I will support you. I don't like being targeted because I am a Republican and the police chief is not. I don't like hearing that when our police officers see me driving, they should turn on their dash cams and follow me. Those are his words, not mine. I don't like having criminal lookups done on me. I don't like having my civil rights trampled by our police department and perhaps their attorneys. I don't like hearing Chief Chaffee telling Ann Andrew to go to Terry Plonker, who in turn will go to Senator Loretta Weinberg, who in turn will go to the Bergen Record with misinformation about me in an effort to remove me from my office. How dare you? I don't like hearing our officers' employees speaking in graphic, sexual words about another elected official. I don't like hearing our chief's words about the overt theft of overtime by the Englewood Cliffs Police Department and other area police departments. He actually mentions other police chiefs. I don't like hearing our chief and a captain discussing and conspiring how one of our lieutenants must sue the borough and not get cold feet. What a breach of your fiduciary duties to our borough. Shame on you. I don't like the blue wall of silence protecting those who have acted dishonorably. You know who you are and need to come forward. I don't like hearing about how our chief and someone named Albie were conspiring to extort me to step down. You clearly don't know me very well and what I stand for. Shame on you. I don't like hearing our borough clerk and the former borough administrator very often calling the chief right after speaking with me to report on what we had just discussed. He recorded everything. I don't like knowing what is contained in the recordings that we have not yet received, but I can imagine that there will be more deplorable revelations. I don't like how our police department pretends to have the same problems that other police departments have. You are all very fortunate to be in Englewood Cliffs. I don't like publicity stunts by anyone, especially by law enforcement officers. These publicity stunts are executed to distract our citizens from what is really going on. I don't like non sequitur lawn signs supporting corruption in the ECPD. I don't like protest marches at community events by our police. I don't like their rudeness and unprofessionalism at our meetings. I don't like this hypocritical stigma-free zone support, especially when I listen on Chaffee's recordings to their nasty, bullying, vulgar, sexually explicit, xenophobic, and homophobic words. That's very hypocritical indeed. Nice t-shirt, Laura. I don't like an Englewood Cliffs Police Department captain stating that one of our elected officials looks like a boardwalk clown whose mouth you shoot water into, presumably because he's of Asian heritage. I don't like police officers referring to elected officials with expletives that are prurient and that reference sexual acts, especially in the case of one officer who uses those words regularly on the recordings, but is also suing the borough because others around him allegedly use such words. It's another hypocrite. I don't like officers recorded disrespectfully rhyming last names of elected officials because the names are of an Asian ancestry. I don't like being told repeatedly that the ECPD is short-staffed. Really don't like that. And listening to the endless hours of recordings of officers just sitting around with plenty of time to trash others. Get to work. I don't like fearing for my safety and the safety of my family and your families, because we may have a different political disposition and outlook on what is proper behavior and what is not. I don't like Englewood Cliffs Police Department members saying, I said something that I didn't say, or saying I did something that I didn't do. I don't like confidentiality orders and agreements that deprive the public of knowing what is going on. I don't like the PBA raising a fuss over a merit-based promotion policy that I implemented, then settling the dispute, and then having no one apply for the position of chief. This just happened twice. I don't like people who blindly follow terrible and corrupt leadership. I was just following orders is not a valid defense and never was. Everyone is responsible for their own actions. I don't like someone threatening me and then praying that I go to heaven, which leads me to something I dislike even more and find most abhorrent is the bastardization of any religion, and Chief Chaffee's litany of prayers in that context speaks volumes to his mental stability. Finally, I don't like those in the audience, Ms. Geiger, if you're here, who ask for transparency for everything under the sun. Oprah request after Oprah request, until their God King, Chief Chaffee, is the one violating the rules, regulations, and decency, and then they go silent. Or they tell the Bergen Record, as Ms. Geiger just did, it's much to do about nothing. Again, I believe in full transparency and the right of our citizens to hear the recorded words of police officers who have lost their way and have no moral compass, and therefore I demand that all those recordings, along with all the others that exist, be provided to the borough clerk for uploading to the borough website, so that the good citizens of Englewood Cliffs can also listen to them. The only recordings that should not be produced would be those in which the borough's attorney-client privilege is present, or personal health information is present. Based on what I have heard from some members of the ECPD, in their own words, their own litigations, and in Chief Chaffee's case, in his own words, I will wholeheartedly support their suspension, removal from duty, and surrender of badges and weapons until others evaluate them for fitness for duty. After all, it's a matter of public safety, and until that happens, we are all being victimized. Okay, that's my statement, and I appreciate most of you remaining quiet, although former Mayor Parisi felt he had to have a little outburst there, but he tried to get it under control. Carol, did you want to say anything?
Yeah. And I would like to add that,
When you spoke, I talked about Diane Sank.
We're having a public portion after. You can leave if you want. You can leave right now if you want. Do not interrupt us.
former, no, don't.
Do not interrupt us.
Throw me up.
Go ahead.
Sit down.
I didn't say a word when you spoke. I talked
You were
about
making
Diane Sank,
faces.
And you asked me the question.
The flashlight.
Sir,
Okay, please sit down.
Have a seat. You should hear this also. Go ahead.
And by the way, that's kind of you to say that now that she's deceased. Joe Parisi, excuse me, don't interrupt me. As somebody who worked with you, you were the nastiest person to Diane Zank that I've ever witnessed, and you treated her like garbage in my presence. And I have nothing else to say at this moment. I would-
There'll be a public portion, and you'll be welcome to come and speak.
I'm going to read my statement now.
Okay.
And I appreciate if there were people laughing when you were making your statement. Former Democratic Councilwoman Lynn Norton thought your entire speech was very funny, and she was laughing throughout the entire thing.
I sure did. Fantasy meets reality.
Thank you. Over the past month, I have encountered evidence of disturbing behavior by Chief Chaffee. Some of it directed towards me, and the rest directed towards others. As the mayor has noted in his recent communications, discovery in Mr. Chaffee's civil lawsuit has brought to light over 28 hours of recordings he made of borough staff and others, most of whom appeared not to know that they were being recorded. There are some recordings that my attorneys have been permitted to listen to, and which Mr. Chaffee's attorney only late last Friday agreed that we, the named defendants, and the named defendants in this case are Mayor Kranjak, myself, Councilman Clark, and former Councilman Consalvo. So only late last Friday, they agreed that we, the named defendants, may listen. However, both the delay in permitting the named defendants to listen to the recordings and the contents of the recordings itself is highly disturbing. Unfortunately, at this time, I'm not at liberty to share the recordings with the public. Although I am now permitted to listen to the recordings, I am going to abide by the rules. Can you stop talking? Thank you. Although I am now permitted to listen to the recordings, I am going to abide by the rules in place and not share anything verbatim until I am permitted to do so. Like the mayor, I am disturbed not only by the chief's behavior in creating almost 120 audio recordings, this is what we know about, there may be more, secretly recording people, but also by the content of some of those recordings which demonstrate a range of conduct that is threatening, unprofessional, and vulgar, indecent, lewd, including use of profanity and sexual language that has absolutely no place in the workplace, let alone in the office of a chief of police, speaking with subordinates, other public officials, public employees, and other police officers. I have filed an internal complaint with the borough based on what I have heard on these recordings, and I hope the borough will do the right thing. I know what I heard on those tapes, and the borough knows what is on those tapes. Sexual and gender-based comments have no place in our borough hall. Oh, who said that? Which one of you back there thinks that sexual comments is funny? Which one of you back there? Which one? Take ownership of that statement. Put your hand up and take ownership of the statement. You think it's okay, Ms. Norton, for sexually based comments to be stated in the workplace?
I think what you're interpreting the tapes, you're saying that we can't prove it, we don't know that it was...
They will be played at some point.
We'll know what the tape says.
Okay, let's,
So just go ahead.
Go ahead. Only two of you
Carol,
know.
your behavior's been worse.
all right, go ahead and finish, just ignore
I
them.
wouldn't expect anything better from these people. That's right. I'm talking about sexual and gender-based comments and what's going on, and you're still attacking me. Look at what you're doing.
All right, come on, folks. Folks, you have your chance at this podium here.
Sexual and gender-based comments have no place in our borough hall.
We're on that.
I would like to hear from Senator Loretta Weinberg, Assemblywoman Valerie Huddle, Assemblyman Gordon Johnson, Assemblyman Bob Orth, Assemblywoman Holly Schepisi, along with Attorney General Graywall, and any other of our elected officials that hold higher office, including my own fellow council members. And I'd like to know what their position is going to be on this subject. The contents of the tapes reveals the true nature of the individual making the recordings and who the real victims are. Since I took office in 2016, many of you have been creating headlines that make great political theater. Unfortunately, these tapes tell a very different story. I would like to close by saying that if the chief feels he is being quote-unquote victimized by the mayor's demand to turn over the secret recordings that he made, then what better way to show the public he is a victim than to turn them over and let the public hear everything that's been said on the recordings and let the public decide for themselves. We should expect nothing less than full disclosure from the chief of our police department. In my opinion, these are public records. and except where an exemption should apply to confidential personnel matters or legal matters. The recordings should be made available to any member of the public who may request them under the Open Public Records Act. After all, these recordings were made by a public official while on duty. Thank you.
Okay, have a motion to open the meeting to the public. All in favor? Aye. Okay, if any member of the public wishes to be heard, please raise your hand, wait for me to recognize you, come forward to the microphone here at the table, state your name and address, and take a few minutes to discuss what you'd like to say. Anybody from the public? Yes, sir.
My name is Dr. Andrew Steiber. I live at 750 Floyd Street in Englewood Cliffs. I have a few comments. I'll be brief. I furnished my email address to the borough so that I could be notified about changes in recycling, changes in garbage pickup, recreation events, and storm warnings. I never thought that I would receive an attack email from the mayor, Kranjak, using the recreation director's constant contact account paid by borough funds to talk about the problem of Chief Siafi. As far as I'm concerned, the courts would be the place to settle the problem. I understand it's a problem, but to talk about recordings that we've never even heard and criticize Chief Siafi here is not right. He has a right to hearings in court, and they can play the recordings and make a decision as to whether he broke the law or he didn't break the law, or what is on those recordings. I don't think that we need to discuss these recordings since most of them have never even heard them. The next thing I want to talk about is that, Mayor, you keep attacking Karen Geiger because she writes a newsletter, Eye on the Cliffs. You attack her for being partisan. I've read these newsletters, and I find them to be very fair and balanced, using the same famous slogan that Fox News uses. She speaks the truth. And I wish you wouldn't continue to attack her. She's not here tonight, and she will not hear what I said. The next thing is that in your letter dated July 30th, 2018, you talk about your team. I wish you would just call your team who they really are. They're the Republican councilmen, members, Mark Park, William Wu, and Carolyn McMorrow. That's your team. Finally, I know, Mayor, you would like Englewood Cliffs to be the best town in New Jersey. It's not going to be the best town in New Jersey until partisan politics and rudeness at public meetings ends for both sides.
Thank you. Anybody else wishing to be heard? Yes, sir.
Donald Smorfest is 26 John Street, Englewood Cliffs. I'm getting off the subject completely. I'm sorry. I have 3 questions. One question is, John Street was repaved, and at the end of John Street it's sinking. And any car that goes by can lose their A-frame. I went to DPW and asked what's being done, and the answer was, they are trying to find out whose fault it is. Somebody's gonna get killed by the time you find out whose fault it is. Somebody should fill in that part that's sinking at the bottom of the hill. Somebody's gonna get hurt.
Can you hold that thought? Mark, can you respond to that?
Absolutely. The engineer's office is working on it, they're aware of it, they're working with the contractor to get it back to me.
What was the problem?
It's just there's a piece of road they didn't let settle right, so it's settled now. So that they're aware of it.
It's both. It's the second manhole also.
Right.
That's starting to sink.
Right.
So you have both.
Yeah.
It's not just one.
It's working with the contractor to get it back.
Okay, anyway, that's number one. Number two, we hired somebody to do maintenance or whatever you call that. People are putting signs in their windows for sale, for rent, 6 months, a year. Nobody does anything about it. Roofs on the south side are coming apart. The South Bronx looks better. Harlem looks like Fifth Avenue compared to the south side of Englewood Cliffs. For 3.5 years, I hear we're working, we're doing, nothing's changing. Across the street, where the dentist is, there are 2 signs now. There's a sign on the bottom, and there's a sign on the top with a tooth.
But what's John Street?
No, not John Street, on Sylvan Avenue.
Sylvan Avenue?
Right across the street from 475 Sylvan.
Mr. Barbario, can you just make sure you
Yeah.
talk to the property maintenance
Yeah,
person?
I think you were trying to explain that to me last week, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, it's okay. When I spoke
No.
with property
Yeah.
maintenance man, he didn't even know where 10 Sylvan was,
Okay, well, I'll-
okay? Which is okay. But you have roofs coming apart, and it looks like crap. Let them fix their roofs. I'm not telling you to knock down their buildings. And with the signs, nobody was allowed to have signs like this in Englewood Cliffs. You go to where they're having the wedding dresses, big sign in the window, building for sale. You go Cafe Italiano, not Cafe Italiano, the, what do you call it again, that,
The new place?
no, the Mexican place that closed down. The sign's been there for a year and a half.
Yeah.
Mama Mexico, wherever you go now, people are putting up signs the way they want to put up signs. We look like Patterson. I mean, come on.
Mr. Barbario, can you just,
If you're going to say to somebody...
can you just address that?
House for sale sign.
Should be consistent.
It should be consistent with everybody else. It has nothing to do with anybody or anything.
Mr. Morfesis, thank you for bringing that to our attention. Mr. Barbario, we'll discuss that tomorrow with the property maintenance.
I thank you so much.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
Thank you. Anybody else wishing to be heard? Yes.
Debbie Fair, 49 Irving Avenue. First I'd like to, I like the expression, cry bully. I never heard that before. Cry bully. I like it. It describes you very well. It describes Mrs. McMorrow, and I think it's great, because I think that's exactly what you have been doing to the police department and to Chief Chiappi. You have been cry bullies. You made that poor man feel so threatened that he had no choice but to take whatever actions that he took. And I feel very confident that he will be vindicated. Yes, I do. And to say that the entire police department is corrupt,
That's not what I said.
and, yes, you did.
No.
And with the Democrats, I mean, that is not,
Nope.
That
You're wrong. You're
is
wrong.
incorrect.
Get your next article right.
That-
Get it right.
Well, we'll just have to go to the tape, won't we?
You will. Go ahead.
Anyway, you are not supposed to be discussing litigation. If it's any other case, if anyone has a
Says who?
question,
Says who?
you.
No, you know
Every
what?
time someone has a question about litigation, you say, "We can't discuss that. It's in litigation." But when you feel that you can discuss litigation, and you are trying this man in the media, not in the courts, this is very unbecoming behavior of a mayor. Now, moving along, there was a resolution about a penalty for Chief Chiaffi in June. That resolution was incorrect, correct? The borough attorney said it was incorrect. She found the mistake, or someone found the mistake, someone with an Oprah request found the mistake, and
It was corrected.
correct it, but you didn't bring it to the public to correct it. You should have had you had the resolution ready. We know the resolution was ready before the July meeting. Why didn't you bring that resolution to the July meeting, have the incorrect resolution rescinded, as you should do, as any lawyer would know, and pass the correct resolution? And then you said you would take care of it for this meeting, but I don't see it on the agenda.
You're right.
Yes, I am right, I know I'm right.
You're
So,
right at that last part, it's not on the agenda.
and why not? You wrote it right after the June meeting, you corrected it, you told everyone that the resolution that was passed in June was incorrect, you said you made a mistake,
It's
okay.
a housekeeping
So
matter,
bring
and
it
it'll be
back,
corrected.
Bring it back and
Okay.
have it revoted.
Listen, the mayor and council voted to adopt the findings of the hearing officer.
Which you stipulated incorrectly
It
as
doesn't-
what the findings were,
Okay,
and
look,
yes, it does matter.
Do you want the chief to have more punishment than the hearing officer wanted?
Absolutely not.
They voted to adopt the hearing officer's decision. The Scrivener wrote it incorrectly. Sorry, but that's the bottom line. The resolution was meant to adopt the hearing officer's decision. That's what we all knew.
Anne Marie, I'm sorry, that's incorrect.
Okay, what?
That is very incorrect.
Okay.
The day that we met, the agenda, the revised agenda came out 15 minutes before the meeting. None of us on this side of the room, I don't know about Councilman Wu and Councilman Park, we were not aware that we were going to deliberate on the penalties. And when I asked you that I do not feel comfortable about voting on the penalties, because even though I had read the
the court
report...
prohibited you from voting on one of those.
No, we're talking about the PBA matter, the PBA letter, okay? One of the matters, we were able to vote, Anne Marie. And you gave us the wrong recommendation.
That's not true, ma'am. We sat in closed session for a long time.
You admitted it.
That you gave the wrong information.
One at a time.
I'm not duking
I'm
you
just not.
out. I'm
Okay,
saying, why didn't you
whatever.
bring the correct resolution forward?
We voted
Because
to
I did
adopt,
not want to see an injustice occur
It's
due
not
to a
an
mistake from due to a mistake from me.
Wait, can I interject?
So let me
No, Anne Marie, excuse me,
Hearing officer
Anne
said
Marie.
one thing, and that's what they adopted.
No, excuse me,
You just don't like that I caught the mistake.
I caught your
made the
mistake.
mistake.
I caught your
That's what I
mistake.
said.
Anne Marie, excuse me. Again, you're giving us the wrong information. At the meeting, you said,
The wrong information doesn't
it was
matter.
fixed.
no. Well, she's not giving the right information right now.
It was fixed behind the
You sat in
scenes.
a closed session.
What happened?
I told you I was not comfortable, and then you told us that it was 3-day suspension when it should have been a verbal reprimand.
It was a verbal reprimand.
No.
Doesn't the resolution come back saying verbal reprimand?
I don't have to answer to you, okay?
Really?
Just go file it.
You know what?
File another lawsuit.
You know what?
Just go file another lawsuit.
You
Okay.
feel that you've been reprimanded.
Look, just
I'm
so
sorry.
everybody's clear on this, the hearing officer's recommendation was adopted.
And it was a verbal reprimand.
It was
And
adopted.
that's not what was said at the
You
meeting.
don't have to be nasty about it.
I'm
It
not
was
trying to be
adopted.
nasty about it.
Such glee on her
You're
face.
being nasty.
Okay, fine, it's fixed.
You know,
Next.
just...
Do you have anything else?
You fixed it behind the scenes, and you're not coming forward with it. Very good. Now, third subject.
I think
You
it
have-
to be accurate and true.
Yes, well, it has to be accurate at a meeting
Right.
voted on by the mayor
was.
and council
It was.
to be a public
Time's up.
decision.
It's on the recording. I mean,
Time's up.
So,
Next day.
you...
The resolution was
You read a
correct, she read it the
resolution-
wrong way.
You read a resolution in your work session, Resolution 173, authorizing the mayor to sign a contract with the clerk and for the attorney to continue to negotiate the acquisition of real property. Now, to authorize the attorney to negotiate, further negotiate the acquisition of property, that's fine. But to authorize the mayor to sign a contract before it's brought to the public with the property address and the amount, the resolution is flawed. You can't have the mayor and the borough clerk sign a contract until that contract is brought to the council by resolution stating the location of the property and the price that's going to be paid. And you cannot purchase property unless you have a bond ordinance in effect for the funds to purchase that property.
Thank you.
So I think you should amend your resolution just to have the attorney further negotiations without authorizing the mayor and the borough clerk to sign any said contract before it is brought to the full council with full disclosure to the public as to what the property address is, what the price is that's going to be paid, and how those sums are going to be made available. That
you.
is the proper way to do it.
Thank you for your comments. Is there anybody else wishing to be heard?
Apparently, not
Yes.
to do it for someone to say.
Hello, my name is Adriana Kranjak. I will do the math for you. I'm his daughter. But first and foremost, I am also a citizen of Englewood Cliffs, and as a citizen, I do value my safety. I value transparency. If anything that I can find is xenophobic, homophobic, sexual comments, that's impeding on my safety. That's impeding on my dealings as a citizen. And I would say I would love to have these tapes disclosed so that I would feel safe in my neighborhood. I'd feel safe driving my car, safe walking around, and maybe we can get to be a stigma-free town. Because right now, if you know what the word stigma means, that means being marginalized. It means strong disapproval. If there is anything as strong disapproval, look at xenophobic comments. Look at sexual harassment comments. That in no way is supportive. That is in no way stigma-free. And I, as a citizen, hope that we can find the values of equality in our citizenship, values of our safety and well-being, and come together as a town and support the release of these tapes. That's all I wanted to say.
Thank you.
A minute. Yes.
Good evening. Maria Valari, 45 Jane Drive, Englewood Cliffs. I wish that I had been called first because I really did want to follow Ms. Fair's comments. Obviously, that's just an attempt to kind of steer the conversation to something other than this very serious thing that is going on in our town. And I'm sorry that she decided to do that in an attempt to just steer away from what we need to really talk about here. So after reading the article that was in the Bergen Record, I just want to say that I cannot believe that the chief of police pleads the Fifth Amendment against self-incrimination on the lawsuit that was brought on by him against the town. We, the people of this town, have a right to know what's on those tapes. I agree with you, Mayor Kranjak, that these recordings should be released and open to the public. The chief is a public servant and ultimately must answer to the people who employ him. Everyone should be able to open the recordings since it was done during working hours on borough property and most likely on borough equipment. I didn't know that until I heard that. The chief's attorney, Mr. Galantucci, he states that the chief made a mistake making recordings. Well, you know, sometimes I make a mistake when I speed or when I slowly go through a stop sign. So does that mean that I can say to that police officer, I made a mistake, I'm so sorry, and I shouldn't get a ticket? That is the most ridiculous statement I've ever heard an attorney say. What would exonerate, he also said that he was making, that it would exonerate him from wrongdoing because he made a mistake. Chief Chaffee, who was the second I thought it was the second highest, fifth highest paid chief, should be above making mistakes. Mr. Galantucci also states that he had a terrible recorder and he was walking around with it, he really didn't know how to work it, he used it all wrong. What is Mr. Galantucci saying? That he should have had a better recorder? I don't understand. I wish Ms. Geiger
You
were
would think
here.
after 100 hours, you could figure out how to use your tape recorder, right?
Right. Even I can figure out a tape recorder, and I'm not good at those things. I wanted to make a comment about Ms. Geiger. You know, Ms. Geiger, the Democratic mayor and council board members, and the rest of the chief's supporters have, there was no outcry from the elected Democrats or their supporters about the injustice that was being brought down on Deputy Chief Michael McMorrow in 2012. Deputy Chief was suspended for 30 days without pay for simply refusing to have a meeting with the Chief Chaffee's personal lawyer without representation on another lawsuit the chief was involved in. I know about this personally because my husband was asked to accompany him to that meeting. Deputy Chief was told he could not bring anyone with him to the meeting, and as a result, Deputy Chief McMorrow did not attend that meeting, and for that reason alone, think about that. If I witness an accident on the street and I'm a witness, I will hire an attorney to represent me. And to expect someone to go speak to someone else's attorney and not be able to bring anyone with him is wrong. And for that reason alone, the chief was suspended without pay, by the way. Okay, not a verbal reprimand, not a little slap on the wrist. For something as serious as what's gone down here, we need to look at this, and we need to look at what's going on in our town. Ms. Geiger really surprised me by saying... Excuse me? You didn't talk about the public? Oh. I'm talking about an article.
It's okay.
I'm talking about an article.
You have the floor. She does not have the floor.
Okay. Okay, so Ms. Geiger, together with the remainder of the usual Glee Club supporters, were so sympathetic to the chief, praising him for his long commitment to our community and the nasty outcry towards the mayor and the Republican members. Where was the support for Deputy Chief Michael McMorrow, who was a member of the Englewood Cliffs PD longer than the chief was? How can you just decide who gets nice words and who gets nasty words? If you really support the Englewood Cliffs Police Department, then you support everyone. Okay, I'm not going to mention about the much ado about nothing because it's already been addressed and I really don't even want to go there anymore. So, Mayor Kranjak and the Republican elected officials, you need to get these recordings out to the public. We need to know what is going on. We need to start distracting issues from what's really happening here. As a member of this public, I come here and I see the smirks and the laughs and I hear the comments. And I'm not saying that there aren't comments on both sides, but there's no respect. There is absolutely no respect.
Yeah. You know, just by a show of hands and a straw poll while we're all here together, if you're in favor of releasing those tapes, please raise your hands.
Wow.
We have a question, Mr. Mayor?
It's
Wow.
overwhelming. Okay. You could come to the microphone and ask your question for me.
Wow, that tells a big story, doesn't it? Thank
So-
you.
Yeah, thank you. I also see, I see Mr. Luciano here, and I just want to update you. You actually had some great points last time. And yes, that sign is going to be removed, correct? Out of the crosswalk on Johnson? There's a sign there that's being moved, number one. Number two, you got me thinking when you said that the gates impede people with wheelchairs, but actually what impedes them is the ramp also. So I'm trying to create a handicap spot further up by the children's playground because there's a nicer entry there. So good point, thank you for raising those, I appreciate it. You always have good points. Quality of life points, those are yours. Yes, okay. Okay, yes, sir.
Good evening. Good evening. Good evening, everybody. Good evening. Dave DiGregorio, 165 Charlotte Place. First of all, I have to apologize to the mayor. I certainly am extremely sorry. I did not mean to upset you as I did last week when I sort of said or intimated or raised the possibility about a certain fitness that you possess or don't possess. You went ballistic on me. I think you pushed the button because on my way out, there were cop cars coming off of duty in our direction, and I was like, what the heck did I do? I better get the heck out of here. I felt like a criminal. And I just said what was on my mind. And then suddenly, I was looking at the tape. Not that I don't like to look at myself, but looking at the tape, and then suddenly, I disappeared from the chair. Was the tape stopped at some point during this? Or I don't know what happened. So I'd like to get a little bit more of an idea of what happened, or did you panic and say stop the tape, or did you call for a break? I don't know.
Right, what else?
What else? Okay, you're not smirking anymore, so that's good. I'm glad that you've got a serious demeanor about you now. So the next thing that I'd like to say is, if we were, let's say, just bear with me, okay? It's a little wacky, but bear with me. 40 years ago, we're on a train. You're on the train. The Republicans, the Democrats are on the train. Everyone's on the train. And on the diner, in the diner car, they seat people together that don't necessarily know each other. And if the chief was sat down, if Councilwoman McMurrow sat at the same table, and there was absolutely no history whatsoever, you would have polite conversation with one another. You might have a drink, you might have a glass of wine, you might even laugh. You might even like each other. And that's the sad part, because you have, as a team, holy or unholy, you have cost this town an amazing amount of money. It's man's inhumanity to man when it comes to what goes on, particularly on this side of recent. And when you sit there and you go through the speech and you straighten your shoulders back and forth, I mean, that's fine. And maybe there's criticism to go around. But you have cost this town because you have not had your eye on the cliffs. You've had your eye on vindictiveness. You've had your eye on trying to get this one, trying to get that one, mocking this one, putting down people's families here. By the way, your daughter spoke very nicely, and I commend her for coming up here and speaking in such a nice way, and direct and clear way. But you, Mr. Mayor, you have failed this town. You've cost it money. You've assigned someone on the planning board who's compromised, who's let this monstrosity come in here, and basically, you have not brought this town forward. This town is in the dark ages. This town could lead. This town is small enough, nimble enough, but it's paralyzed with your vindictiveness, and it is got to stop. And I think everyone would agree with that. Somebody has to be the bigger person. Somebody. And I voted for this mayor. I voted for Mayor Kranjak. And I thought he was going to be the bigger person. And he ended up to be small, petty, and he has not served this community at all. And it's disgusting. And I'm sick of it, because we could rock in this town. We could rock. And it just pains me to see a community arguing with itself, tied up in knots of contempt. And you're to blame. There are others too, but you are. And you're supposed to be a leader. You're no leader. Prove me wrong. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing your feelings with us.
Yeah, thank you. And my feelings...
As I always say,
feelings are...
facts have no feelings.
And you, as I said the last
You're
time...
finished. Next, please.
As I said the last time,
Yes.
put facts and feelings together and stop hurting people.
Yeah. Facts have no feelings, sir.
Is that all best you can do? Well, I've heard that about 5 times before. You repeat yourself.
Thank you. Have a good evening. Hello.
Susan Consalvo, 150 Charlotte Place. I sit here and I listen to all this dribble and nonsense. And I say to myself, with regard to these tapes, it's very apparent that Chief Jaffe had every intention of recording for his benefit and to prove negativity to all of you. Evidently, it backfired. All of a sudden, he doesn't want to expose them. Why? What is he hiding? I, as a concerned citizen, and those with an eye on the cliffs, should want to know what's going on. Why would you not, unless you're privy to it and know there are things that you don't want exposed? This is ridiculous. Transparency should be the case. Let the truth be known.
Thank you. Anybody else wishing to be heard? Yes, sir.
Glenn Luciano, Lowry Drive. I have a question about, or a couple questions maybe about Resolution 18165. The pond dredging on Pershing?
Okay.
Does the borough have an interest in that property? Do they own it? Do they have an easement?
I'm going to have the Borough Council address that, because she's very familiar with the situation.
So we have an access agreement with those property owners, and their pond needs to be dredged because of runoff that they've received from other borough properties from above, and the mayor and council have entertained in the past several resolutions authorizing the dredging of the pond. So no, we don't have an easement, but we do have access.
So is that newly created access?
That's access to dredge that pond.
Is that newly created access?
A year ago, it's 8 months ago.
Okay. So we don't really have an interest. So why in the resolution here is the borough entertaining paying anything? We don't have an interest in it. It's my understanding it's a private pond. It's on private property. right? I'm reading the resolution tonight, and I see that we've agreed to pay certain portions. Certain portions are paid one-half between the two property owners, so they're the sole property owners. Borough don't own it. It might be in best interest, and what I really wanted to hear is that we were doing something that possibly the borough needed to be involved in so that we could get free services from the county, but that's not what I heard. So I don't understand why, even if it is an issue with dredging, and I understand with the mosquitoes and everything else, it's a private property pond. I don't know why we're having anything to do with paying one-third of anything. That should be split between the property owners, and I'm kind of confused as to even with the access agreement, even if we're saying it's a health concern, I'm sure we could get the county to come to mosquito control and take care of it, which it seems in the resolution we are doing. And it even says in the resolution, if we have to go to some other private entity to do work, that it's going to be split halfway between the property owners.
So, Mr. Luciano, that's a great point, and it was raised a year ago when we embarked on this issue, because the property owners take water from upstream, and then it affects other people along there, and including public lands. And I understood that it's public health, but also water maintenance, and the sediment was settling, so they had to dredge it, and we entered into this agreement to divide it 3 ways, to test the soil and to remediate the problem there.
Wasn't this, I'm sorry to interrupt, was this property within the last 8 years redone that pond?
Oh, you're thinking of the big pond.
No, you're thinking of the Okay, so, but I still, with all due respect, I have an issue. Like I said, if there was something where the borough needed to get involved to provide a service that the property owners couldn't get. I mean, they bought the property knowing the pond was there. If I have an issue that might affect more than 1 or 2 neighbors, is the borough going to come in and split the price with me? I mean, luckily I don't have a pond.
You know what?
Just an example. I don't agree with you.
I forget exactly what had happened, but the engineer will know, and we'll ask the engineer, and we'll get back to you on that.
With all due respect to our borough attorney and everyone here, with all the litigation that we have in town, and I'm just going to speak for myself and no one else, I'm disappointed to hear our borough attorney tell anyone that they should file a lawsuit. I don't think it's right. I really don't think it's right. And maybe it was a little curt and maybe in the heat of the moment, but the last thing I want to hear from anybody up here is to file a lawsuit.
You're right.
We have enough lawsuits. If we can't be adults, this young lady over here made a great point about being respectful. And I'm going to be honest. I sit here and I hear chirping over here. And I sit here and I hear chirping over here. We need to be more respectful to everyone. We're all neighbors. And we need to do what's right for Englewood Cliffs regardless. Be respectful to each other. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Lauren Eastwood, 4 Willow Drive. First, I'm tired of hearing Ms. Fair come up here and talk about how things should be done. Salary increases should be approved in public at a council meeting, not in closed session. She got a $10,000 salary increase that wasn't. So, I think we have a case of the pot calling the kettle black. On July 31st, I received an email from the borough entitled, "An Important Message from Mayor Kranjak." I'd like to thank Mayor Kranjak for making this information available to the public. Your transparency stands in sharp contrast to the previous administration's withholding of negative information from the public. The opposition to making those audio recordings public is the best evidence that they need to be made public. Borough employees serve everyone, regardless of age, nationality, ethnic origin, language preference, gender, sexual orientation, political affiliation, and personal friendships. Or at least they're supposed to. There is no room for hatred of foreign-born residents in any community. The fact that borough employees feel comfortable having a conversation that denigrates or ridicules foreign-born residents is extremely troubling, particularly in light of the inconsistent treatment which Kim mentioned in his August 11, 2016 email, and the allegations of racially influenced policing mentioned in Patrolman Oost's lawsuit. It is especially troubling that employees felt comfortable having this conversation with or within hearing range of the police chief and his audio recorder. The police chief should be ensuring that his department is without bias, not encouraging it or tolerating it. At this point in time, it should be evident to everyone that sexually explicit language has no place in any workplace, including the borough. The borough is currently being sued by an employee over sexual language in the workplace. That lawsuit and the tort claim notice which preceded it were in the news and all over social media. Again, it is extremely troubling that employees felt comfortable having this conversation with or within hearing range of the police chief and his audio recorder. The police chief should be ensuring that his department is without bias, not encouraging it or tolerating it. Everyone has the right to take the Fifth Amendment. However, in my opinion, someone who feels that he cannot answer questions at a deposition on the grounds that his testimony might tend to incriminate him should not be a police officer, let alone the police chief. There have been numerous red flags over the years. The Agresta lawsuit, the 2006 police promotion lawsuit, the B.B. Kahn lawsuit, the Shalhoub lawsuit, Deputy Chief McMorrow's lawsuit, Jerry Misk's lawsuit, and Michael Pelzer's lawsuit. But the previous administration apparently looked the other way. In fact, at one council meeting, the then borough attorney said, "We'll never investigate Chief Chaffee." The council should have asked, why not? No one is above the law. But then the council members apparently looked the other way. New Jersey's official misconduct statute is NJSA 2C:30-2. It says, a public servant is guilty of official misconduct when, with purpose to obtain a benefit for himself or another, or to injure or deprive another of a benefit, A, he commits an act relating to his office, but constituting an unauthorized exercise of his official functions, knowing that such act is unauthorized, or he is committing such act in an unauthorized manner, or B, he knowingly refrains from performing a duty which is imposed upon him by law or is clearly inherent in the nature of his office. In other words, when you're a council member, looking the other way is not acceptable. The statute continues. Official misconduct is a crime of the second degree. If the benefit sought to obtain or sought to be obtained, or of which another is deprived or sought to be deprived, is of a value of $200 or less, the offense of official misconduct is a crime of the third degree. I did a little research. For a second-degree penalty, the court can impose a prison sentence between 5 and 10 years and a fine of up to $150,000. For a third-degree crime,
If you need to have a conversation, please leave and have it, come back later. Thank you. I'm sorry, you can leave now. Go ahead. Go ahead, because you're disturbing us at this point. No, you don't have any special privileges. We're going to wait for you to leave, because you can't sit there and not speak. Go ahead. You just spoke. You could go with her.
for a third-degree crime, the court can impose a prison sentence between 3 and 5 years and a fine up to $15,000. The statute of limitations for official misconduct is 7 years. Finally, I would like to bring to the council's attention Exhibit A to the brief in opposition to plaintiff's verified complaint, order to show cause and injunctive relief filed by Ellen Park's lawyer. Exhibit A is an email string marked confidential, pending discipline, confidential, personnel, confidential, IA, confidential, attorney-client and work product privilege material, confidential, advisory, deliberative, and consultative material. It's now on eCourts, available to anyone who goes to the Bergen County Law Library, where anyone can download and print the documents on eCourts. I think the council needs to immediately start an investigation into how Mr. Schettino obtained this document, which he is not copied on. Each of you is a fiduciary for the borough and its taxpayers. Your responsibility is to the borough, not to the Englewood Cliffs Democratic Party and not to Michael Chaffee. It is extremely troubling to read a privileged email sent by the borough attorney which says, Councilwoman Park, over and over, you have breached confidentiality. This string demonstrates once again that you are sharing confidential materials of the mayor and council by including Chief Chaffee on your first email. I have copies of Exhibit A for you.
Thank you.
Ms. Eastwood, I have a question for you, actually. How do you know about the recordings, that they were within distance of, hearing and whatnot? Because we haven't even heard the recordings yet, so...
How do you have a statement that's already typed and ready to be read?
The email I received on the borough's email system, and
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay. Anybody else wishing to be heard? Yes. You, Penny.
Very interesting, right? She said it was from the newspaper.
That's okay.
Yeah, right. Very detailed about who could... Very detailed. I guess somebody else is breaking the confidentiality here.
Now you guys are grasping at straws.
Yeah, right.
Penny Rasuli, 44 Birch Street. I cannot tell you how disappointed I am, and really feel very upset with what I've heard tonight. First of all, the unprofessional behavior of our police chief in making these recordings is very disturbing to me. Now, I haven't heard the recordings. People here have. And I would very much like to hear the recordings, because it affects the entire town. And as a resident of this town, and a taxpayer, my tax money is going to these litigations. Conversations between the chief and other members of the police department or elected officials, known or unknown to them, just boggle my mind when they are recordings that are made without the knowledge of the other party, if that's so. But why would one make 120 recordings of everything? You would make a recording of a meeting, that's important, but to use disparaging language about elected officials is very, very disheartening. I would request that these recordings be made public.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Michael Telzer, homeowner, 9 Churchill Road. I've been hearing a lot about tapes tonight, and I think they should be released, without a doubt. But it brings me to some tapes, portions of which I believe everybody who hasn't heard them will be hearing them by tomorrow morning. I would suspect they, on their own, will go to hear them. But it occurs to me, what happened to me 7 years ago, the tapes had just been played and not hidden, and to this day, even through legal proceedings, the contents get obfuscated. But for those of you who are aware of what happened, the first words are of the woman, "I don't want to go clinical." And then she goes on to say, "I don't know, I'd feel terrible if I'm wrong." She goes on to say, "I don't think you're going to have enough evidence or anything." Okay? And the other thing that she says, and they're all exculpatory statements, are, "I hope I'm not crazy." Not, "I hope I'm not crazy." This could be a cautious statement. "I hope I'm not crazy." So the recent decision, which the police department is waving like a flag, all of those statements don't show up. They're just not there, except one statement, the "I hope I'm not crazy" becomes "I hope I'm not crazy," and it's dismissed as almost irrelevant. Everything the woman said was exculpatory. Now, the cops, I believe in transparency, and they can wave this decision like a flag. However, I'm going to wave it back. And every single thing in that decision, every single thing that was seen not as my case was dismissed as the facts not being in dispute, every single thing is in dispute, clearly, and all the evidence is on my side, and I have all of it. So we went from Kafka with my crazy arrest to Orwell, and it's got to stop, and it stops tonight. And this is how it stops. Many years ago when I was in here, I told Mayor Parisi, I have a website, I bought the domain, EngleCliffsPoliceDepartment.com. As a courtesy, I made a video, and I did not use it for more than a couple of days. My video is on EngleCliffsPoliceDepartment.com. Very simple, EngleCliffsPoliceDepartment.com, and you can watch what happened. There'll be more, as long as the police want to keep waiving this, which is this decision, which is, there's nothing in it that is at all in reality. But I believe in transparency, and I believe if that tape had been made public right away, not to mention that it was not given to the prosecutor's office during my criminal trial, and when I suspected the possibility that it might exist, the prosecutor said, honestly, she didn't know that it existed, and when it turned up, it just didn't have that information that I would later come across. So how the judge, and I'll finish with this, how the judge said something to the effect that, well, I could have gotten the tapes, or, when I did have it, I must have had that information on it. Does anybody think in their right mind, if I had that information at a criminal trial, which I won, I wouldn't have used that information? Of course I didn't have that information. But whether I did or didn't, which I didn't, it was not given to the prosecutor. Why aren't pictures and photographs given to the prosecutor? So I think in light of that, if there's any questions about why tapes should be put out there, I'd like to say, I ask everybody here, why are you defending at this point and not being transparent? You've got people who are saying, I've been hurt by the chief, the public's being hurt by the chief, and they want transparency, and you've got the other side kind of equivocating at this point. Well, I think people should take a stand one way or the other. I thank you very much.
It's a good point. I think the answer to your question is in the tapes that we have, but I think the real answer is in the tapes that we're getting, that we don't have yet.
Okay.
All right?
Well, and I just want to say,
Stay tuned.
I just want to say that, all the mayor and the council, I have sent, all of you should have 2 emails from me, which basically disputes everything in the judge's decision, and I mean everything. It's probably gonna take you 2 hours to read, and, if you want to give it to the public, that's fine with me. But every single fact is in my favor, and it's indisputable, and all of the evidence is out there. So please, let's be transparent. What happened to me is insane, and it's been 7 years, and enough is enough, and I want all of you to do something. I don't care which party you're in. What I'm giving you, and I'm speaking to the Democrats now, it's indisputable. There's no 2 ways about it. So, you're gonna read it, and I really expect your help too. Thank you.
Anybody else wishing to be heard? Yes.
Deborah Sabari, 106 Hollywood. I didn't get the email that you sent out, Mayor, so I'd like to know how it goes about that this email only goes out to a group of people who are signed up for what I understand to be Constant Contact. I don't know if I ever signed up for it, I didn't. But if there is something that affects everybody in this town, I would imagine it would go out via mail, so that we all would be privy to it, and I would imagine that everybody on the council would be voting on this before it went out to the public. I'm going to reserve my comments regarding the tapes because I haven't heard the tapes. Okay, matter of fact, from what I understand, yourself and Carol are the only ones who have heard them.
Would you like to hear them?
I'm not sure. If the judge says I shouldn't be privy to it...
No, but you as a person, do you want to hear them? You as a person, forget the judge.
I'm not sure.
You're not sure?
It depends. No, I'm not sure.
Okay.
Because I don't know who else is on those tapes. I don't know what the premise is.
Would you believe in transparency?
I believe that everybody is entitled to a fair trial, and if the judge feels that releasing those tapes... No, you're asking me my opinion, and I'm telling you. Okay, you're asking me my opinion.
Transparency.
Oh, I believe in transparency. I don't believe it happens here. I believe that there's half of the council here hasn't heard those tapes.
We want them to hear
An
it.
opinion goes out by our mayor as to what's on those tapes, and it's very one-sided because we don't know what else is on those tapes No. We can't have an opinion, right? And Democrats can't have an opinion because they haven't heard the tapes.
Mayor, if I may, I'm so glad.
So what I would like to ask you,
I'm actually shocked that
what
she's
is
taking
the
this position.
process?
I'm shocked.
What is the you can go ahead and be shocked, Mayor. I'm asking you, what's the process? Do you get to unilaterally decide what goes out to the public without bringing it to the council as a whole? That's Republicans and Democrats.
I'm keeping the town
Okay?
updated,
Okay?
which is a lot more than former Mayor
So-
Parisi did, right? Did you ever hear about
We
anything?
don't want to do tit for tat here, okay? All I'm asking...
You're running for elected office and you're
Right,
taking a
so
position.
What's
when
your
I'm up
position?
there...
Yes or no?
right, So when I'm up there, I want to know, do we have a
Public
right...
have the right to know.
Again,
And
it
Mr.
depends
Barr,
on the
I will tell
facts.
you,
And I don't have them
I'm
all.
not going to go back and forth with you, but I will make
Oh
a
my
public
God.
statement about all...
You don't want to make public
Because the chief of police
statements
has
after I sit down.
The chief of police has not designated...
Okay, again, I'm asking if the mayor unilaterally can make decisions for the council without polling and getting the approval of both sides.
I can, I've done it often. And by the way, what facts would have to be present for you to support the release?
Honestly, you have to sit up there and be privy to all of the lawsuits and all the information and what's going on.
No, this has nothing to do with that.
You are both being sued by
So
the mayor.
let's say
and-
the chief recorded you. Have you ever had a conversation with the chief?
No,
He may have
I haven't.
recorded you, okay?
I haven't.
Would you want to
And he may
know,
have recorded something that shouldn't be out there. I don't know.
would you want to
I
hear
don't
what
know, but
other
I'm
people
gonna
are saying
expect the
about
judge to
you
tell us
in the police
what's the
department?
right thing, okay? I'm going to
Okay.
expect the judge...
So I'm going to take that as a no. You do not want
You can take
transparency.
it whichever way you like, Mayor. You still haven't answered my question. When does the council as a whole get to vote on what goes out?
Well, here, I'll answer your question.
I don't take a vote.
You know, both of you are part of this lawsuit, but
No,
yet,
let me
you're
answer your
the only
question.
two that have
If
heard
you stop
the
talking,
tape.
I'll answer your question.
And you're sending out information, one-sided information.
Tell me when you're finished.
To the public. And
Tell
I'm
me
just
when you're
saying,
finished.
why is it that the Democrats know nothing about the tapes and the public is here taking a stand? Okay?
Do you want an answer?
Okay?
Do you want an answer?
Yes, I'd like to know when...
I sent it out because I'm the mayor, and as mayor, I am the CEO of this town, in effect, okay? I do have a council, but I also have authority to do certain things. I don't need to run to everybody, okay? That's what the power of the office is, that I get to inform
You
you.
can do whatever you like.
I
Is that
get
what
to
you're saying?
inform you. No, you don't misstate it.
That's what you're saying.
No, when you write your next article for Iron Eclipse, make sure you get this straight.
Ask him if he can send an email.
I can send an email,
No,
and I could
asked him
update
what
the
he
town.
could do unilaterally. He did that unilaterally.
Right, I did.
So, and it's his opinion. The court still haven't decided whether you can release those tapes. And you're giving us tidbits of what was on them.
Forget the court. Do you want it released or not? Do you want it
I'm not
released?
forgetting the court.
Do you want it
And you
released?
of all people shouldn't be telling me.
No. I'm saying, as a
You're
citizen,
so strong on the law and litigation.
take a position.
You only want to
Take a
talk about
position.
cases where you think you have the upper hand.
Yeah, well-
Take a position. Take a position.
All right.
If you believe in transparency. And by the way, Mayor, for the record, I know they love that word, Chief Chaffee's paper discovery, majority of it was not deemed confidential, and in his last batch that he turned over, I think the last batch was about 1,600 pages, there were emails again with Miss Sabari, Miss Geiger, and Miss Fair on them, and I would just love to know how they got into Chief Chaffee's discovery. How did they get into his discovery?
Okay.
It's amazing. There's
I think-
obviously a lot going on that's going to come out with these
Okay,
continued
Ms. Simon, would
depositions.
you like to come up?
Continued
Yes.
depositions.
Come on up.
There are reasons that they don't want these things public.
Come on up. We did our straw poll already, and overwhelmingly for people at home, we as a group determined that the tape should be released. So,
Melanie Simon, 30.
if you're watching this at home.
In an effort to be transparent, and I've heard this being said, there are people, including the council president, Carol McMorrow, who took... Yes, here we go.
I can't wait. Go
Fifth
ahead.
Amendment in a trial, along with a number of people who were sitting in the audience. Thank you for that opportunity to speak.
And Mayor, I will respond to that after she goes back to her seat. I've been waiting for a long time to be... Mayor, may I?
Yeah, sure.
Thank you. I've been waiting for a long time to respond to that. That was Melanie Simon, former...
Yes, Melanie Simon.
They think it's funny. I don't have any anger, ma'am. I don't even know who you are. You've been commenting the whole meeting. You've been making dirty... Oh, you know who I am? Well, should I be in fear?
You need to leave.
I have a lot of class, ma'am.
Well, you
I
don't get to
it's
scream
okay,
out that way.
Mayor, that's okay. They want to
okay.
threaten me? We know who you are. Okay, may I speak? Mike,
Oh, that's not nice.
this is just more of what's on the tapes, guys.
That's not nice.
What you're listening to.
You
It's
know-
more of what's on the tapes. I'm sorry, I do not support individuals having sexually explicit conversations about me in the workplace. I don't support that behavior in the workplace. And if you do, ma'am, shame on you. Shame on you. I'm talking to you. I'm disgusting.
Anybody else from the public?
Mayor,
Anything?
I'm going to respond to the pleading of the Fifth, okay, which I have no problem taking that back. But I will tell you why I pled the Fifth. I pled the Fifth because Melanie Simon and her Democratic operatives, whoever they are, majority of them sitting in the back of the room, decided to subpoena my two sons, who were in the Coast Guard, and I was told that they were going to subpoena my 83-year-old father who had just had a stroke, and that I was taken care of down the shore. I wasn't even in Englewood Cliffs when all of this went on, that whole situation with their election. I was living down the shore, taking care of my father who was flown up here from Florida, who had a stroke. That was why I took the 5th.
Okay. Anybody else? Yes,
Well, tell me why I took it.
okay.
That's right, because you were going to attempt to call my 83-year-old disabled father in.
All right, you need, Miss Simon, your time is over.
Ridiculous.
I know.
You're animals.
Shame
Shame on you, what you tried to do.
Yeah, as I recall,
83-year-old
as I
man.
recall, you got tossed out of that case pretty good.
It's a court. Shame on you.
My sons were going to be thrown out of the Coast Guard because of you.
All right, stop.
It's the truth.
Stop.
They don't like to hear the truth.
Mary O'Shea, 12 Irving Avenue.
Well, neither do I.
In regard to the tapes, I understand that Mayor Kranjak and Mrs. McMorrow have only been able to hear the tapes as of Friday, other than their attorneys had possession of the tapes, because they are named defendants. And I believe it would be wonderful if the tapes were released, so all the council, including Mark Park, including William, Gloria Ellen, and Ed Aversa, could also hear the tapes, as the members of the public, all right? From the comments that were in Mayor Kranjak's letter and in the newspaper article regarding the tapes, no one should be in a workplace using language that is sexual, should not be talking that way in front of other employees, whether they're police officers or borough staff. Nobody should be having those types of conversations, okay? And the fact that he recorded them himself and then turned those tapes into his attorney for some part of his defense is totally unbelievable, okay? He totally shot himself in the foot with those tapes, okay? Unless those were the tapes that weren't supposed to go in, and the ones he kept out were the ones that were supposed to go in. Maybe they mixed up the ins and the outs, and they gave in the wrong ones, okay? But when I worked in the bank, I had a market manager that worked for me that was fired for a sexual comment to a staff member, which was a dirty joke. He was called to the regional office. He thought he was going up there to get promoted. He was fired on the spot, okay? And I believe that these types of comments that are represented in these tapes, people should be terminated for using that type of language, whether they used it among other men, whether they said it in mixed company. It's deplorable, it's disgusting, and a person of the caliber of the police chief, of that ranking authority, should be above reproach. He should not use that type of language anytime, any place. Never happened, okay? And that he did, it's terrible. And all the naysayers will keep not believing it, until they hear it. And you have to let them hear it. The judge or whoever makes the decision has to release these tapes for the residents of Englewood Cliffs to know the full story. Because one by one, support the Chief Chiaffi and the Blue Too and all these signs. Gradually, one by one, they're coming down. I wonder why. People aren't so keen about supporting Chief Chiaffi with his sexual comments, okay? It's not right. And the whole stigma-free episode with the police putting the picture in the paper, getting the story, they publicized the record, put that story in twice. They put it in the Suburbanite twice. I imagine that maybe some of the connections that you alluded to helped the placement of that story vis-a-vis,
Could be.
Mary,
the people.
excuse me, how about the fact that we're the last municipality in the whole county? There's 70 towns, we are the 70th town.
Do you think that someone that is using vulgarity is a banner person to wave a stigma-free sign? Okay? That is a stigmatizing women, okay, talking about sexual undertones. That is
creating stigma, okay? And that was just a diversion by him so that the focus would be off of these tapes, okay? All right? That's all. And my husband was at the VFW in Fort Lee Tuesday morning, where he's a member, and he was talking to a retired police chief from a neighboring town, okay, who asked him what the hell's going on in Englewood Cliffs, because he saw the stigma fee, picture with the police outside the Borough Hall, and that it was against the mayor's desire to have that. He said if any of the police in my town had done that, they would have been fired on the spot, okay? They would have been fired for doing that, all right? And maybe we need to have something done to the people that are working outside of the norm, okay? It's wrong. It's wrong.
All right, anybody else wishing to be heard? What? Yeah, we had to do business. Yes. Yes, and you know, maybe, you know, after all this and the truth comes out, it's helped other societies just as a vetting process. You get it all out, you deal with it, you don't repeat the mistakes of the past, and you go forward. All right, so that's what I'm hoping for. Kind of like a Truth and Reconciliation Commission. Okay, go ahead, Ms. Norton.
Linda Ritton, 9 Miller Drive. Good evening. It certainly has been an interesting meeting, and it all started with the mayor's feelings. He put out his feelings about the tapes that only he heard. We have no idea if what he's saying is real. We have no, this could be his interpretation, he could be making it up. We know he's had a vendetta for a very long time, and he's also putting litigation out in public. And he's using, which one? Yeah, take that out. Oh, take it out. He's using information that would never, ever be suggested, probably by any attorney, unless it's a very self-serving thing, perhaps to him as an individual. And of course you have Mrs. McMorrow doing the same thing. And of course she has a lawsuit outstanding with the chief. So therefore, yeah, but nobody knows this. You could be making it all up, Carol. You make up other things. You could be making this up. But you know what? This is legal, right? We do not know what kind of...
Go ahead, finish.
Thank you, sir.
Go ahead.
We do not know what kind of a situation you both are putting the town into, especially with the courts. These things should be decided in the courts. If there is an issue as far as criminality, that's decided by the prosecutor's office. That's the way it's all written, so that's all where it's going to go. Doesn't have to be tried in the court of public opinion at a council meeting. It doesn't have to be tried through email. There are places for this to go, that's where it has to go. There are people who pleaded the Fifth. Of course, Carol has pleaded the Fifth, Penny has pleaded the Fifth. Mr. Consalvo pleaded the Fifth. Oh, excuse me, I missed one. So there were a number...
And you covered up the Commerce Bank situation with Joe Parisi. You covered up the Commerce Bank situation. Remember that?
If I covered up anything, I would have been tried for it.
Finish up. I always love hearing.
There was nothing.
Go ahead. Go ahead. You need to leave. You don't get to do that. You wait your turn. You wait your turn. You wait your turn. You're nobody till you're called on, okay?
Mrs. McMorrow was in the paper. If there was a cover-up, don't you think something would have been done about it? Or did you withhold that information all those years ago?
That's fine.
Okay, so getting on to the next. I think, Mayor, you're actually deflecting. I think that we have major issues in town, and you're picking on the police chief when we should be dealing with the tax increases, we should be dealing with litigation, we should be dealing with affordable housing. These are the things that affect...
We're dealing with everything and more.
And so why are you wasting your time and something that should be litigated in the courts, not in the council?
Take note of this. When we do get the tapes released, on April 13th, 2016, there was a meeting that Chief Chaffee recorded, at 1 hour and 49 minutes. Go forward to 1 hour and 49 minutes, and it's discussing fraudulent overtime related to ERT. It's April 1st. Hold on. And his words, this is gonna hang me. Those were his words. This is gonna hang me, okay?
Could there possibly be an order that says you shouldn't be discussing this? Is
No,
this
no,
something
absolutely
that
not.
should be in the courts right now? I'm thinking that maybe
Absolutely.
you are...
Has that registered with you? This is gonna
Did you
hang me.
hear the rest of the tape? Did you
Yes.
go on? I don't know what it says, but you know, you
But
put...
on a daily...
You come on your excerpt
All right,
and you're telling yourself.
finish up. We had enough of you. Come on.
And you know, when you talk about...
Come on, finish up.
Oh, that is a really nice
Finish
thing
up.
to
Now
say to
you're-
the public.
you're just-
We've had enough of you, well, you know...
You're not really the public. Come on, let's admit it. You're not really the public. No, come on.
And you know
All right.
what, this is not...
Look, I really want you to finish so I can hear from Mr. Marinucci. He's over there. He's so quiet always.
This, you know, you have such a hang-up, such an insecurity, that you have to keep mentioning his name.
Yeah, you're going away right now. All right. It's all
And the
fun.
other thing, and you know what, if you talk about what's in lawsuits and what's in hearsay, there's plenty of hearsay about some other official
You-
within
you know,
the police department possibly...
honestly-
there are allegations against other members of the police department in court cases.
Okay.
So beware of these
Okay,
things. you know?
honestly, you're doing a fine job defending your God King. Okay,
I'm going to
finish.
tell you something. There is no God King. If you look at the people back here, we have Republicans, we have Democrats, we have independents, we have Trump
Good.
supporters, we have other supporters. They all have a common thing.
That's
They don't
fine.
like the way the town is being run.
That's right,
And that's
because we're making decisions up here, not in Joe Parisi's basement anymore, okay? Let's go. Who wants to speak next?
Oh, you're so proud of yourself.
All right, seeing and hearing no one, can I have a motion to close the public portion? All in favor? Okay, let's get some work done. All right, the payment of claims, we have an issue with this because our council people haven't shown up.
I was the only one.
To sign. Carol McMorro showed up.
The only one.
So what we're going to do is revise the wording of the resolution so that it could pass tonight and kind of become effective upon everything taking place in the future.
So,
Tomorrow, I hope.
council members, I'm going to read the revision to Resolution 18163. And whoever is responsible for doing it other than Carol did hers. Whoever is responsible, please do this promptly. There's no change to the title, there's no change to the first paragraph. The second paragraph is deleted in its entirety, and instead we are saying, whereas the Borough CFO has recommended payment of the bills and vouchers, now therefore be it resolved by the mayor and council of the Borough of Englewood Cliffs that council members shall review and approve the bills and vouchers within 5 business days of this resolution, and sign same. And thereafter, the CFO is authorized to pay all bills and vouchers as approved. And of course, then, it's the fund stuff and the amount column there remains the same. So if one of you could please see your way clear, or at least however many are supposed to be, 2, right?
I'm abstaining because I don't know if you're allowed to do what you're doing, so I'm
Yeah,
abstaining.
so I reviewed it, and we're hoping that we can have the bills paid. So if one of you could please go to the mayor and council, go to the
Borough Hall.
Borough Hall, otherwise none of the bills are going to be paid.
All right, so...
Okay.
No, them two.
Well, why don't
You
we...
happen to be looking at
Yeah,
that.
look, why don't we do this? Somebody move as a motion what Anne Marie just said.
Let them move it.
Okay, so move, okay.
Second, please.
Second.
Can I have the number is $2,046,487.59. And this is payment of claims July 12, 2018 through August 8, 2018.
Councilperson Aversa?
Yes.
E. Park?
I'm going to abstain because Carol says she's going to abstain.
I'm abstaining because I don't know if you guys are allowed to do this.
As an elected official, that's not a valid reason for abstaining just because somebody else abstains.
She just said we're not allowed to do this.
No, I said I'm not sure, and I'm not
Right.
gonna, I did sign the bills.
No, you said you're abstaining because she's abstaining. You're
Because what's
abstaining.
her reasoning for
All right,
abstaining?
fine.
Okay,
Go ahead.
Want me to spell it out? You know what, I have a comment about, claims while we're at it.
Here we go.
We haven't received...
We're voting right now.
I have a right to comment, right, on claims, like, I haven't...
Motion.
I haven't received a legal bill from the borough attorney since January this
You're taking
year.
a vote right now.
No, I'd like
You missed your
to say
opportunity.
something.
You can say it after, but not right
Okay,
now. We're voting.
I'm going to abstain as well.
All right. Madam.
I'm abstaining.
Councilperson McMorro, abstaining?
Yep.
M. Park?
Yes.
Whoa.
Yes.
For the record, I did sign my portion of the invoice.
Mayor,
What is it?
it's 3 yeses and 3 abstentions.
So it passes.
Okay, so can I have the floor now?
Sure, yeah.
Okay. So, Anne Marie?
What was that?
My question is to you. We have not seen your legal bill since January, so I'd like to know what's going on there.
Okay.
So please fill us in.
They're coming.
You've been saying that.
Thank you.
Thank you for what?
They're coming
They're coming when?
soon.
That's not good enough. You work for this town, and it's now August.
8 months.
8 months.
So please explain. I don't think that's
Set a deadline right now.
I don't think it's professional
I just said-
on your part not to send us
Okay, here,
legal bills.
let's just, as a housekeeping matter,
Yeah.
can you get it done a week from today?
No.
Maybe?
Yeah.
That's not
All right,
acceptable.
so I'm
No,
gonna,
I'll make that motion.
I'm gonna just, no, forget the motion, I'm just gonna direct you to do that, all
You
right?
have to have it done in a week, that's it.
1 week, all right.
That's it.
I
All right,
agree.
it's done, all right, fine.
It's ridiculous, Anne Marie.
All
Come on.
right. Okay, so resolutions 2018. Excuse me, folks, really, we're trying to conduct business. If you want to have a conversation, you're welcome to go outside, come back, but not right here, please? Thank you.
164.
164, authorized purchase of ammunition through New Jersey state contract.
Second.
Councilpersons Aversa?
Yes.
E. Park?
Yes.
O.
Yes.
McMorro?
Yes.
M. Park?
Yes.
Wu?
Yes.
165.
Resolution 165, authorized legal engineering and DPW services agreement for Pershing Road pond dredging.
So move.
Have a second?
Second.
Councilpersons Aversa?
Do we know, are we voting on this, even though we don't know what the cost will be, or is that coming, are we gonna have a final vote when we know what the cost is?
Yeah, we're gonna have a...
Yeah, I'll bring the agreement to you guys for approval, and that will have at least approximate, numbers.
Okay. Because right now, voting on this was, just so everyone
You're
knows...
just voting so I can do the
Correct.
agreement.
Okay. Yes, I vote yes. Just
E.
wanted-
Park?
Yes.
O.
Yes.
McMorro?
Yes.
M. Park?
Yes.
Wu?
Yes.
166, authorized filing and signature for federal ESAC program.
So moved?
Second.
Councilpersons Aversa?
Yes.
E. Park?
Yes.
O.
Yes.
McMorro?
Yes.
M. Park?
Yes.
Wu?
Yes.
167, award professional service contract to Mazer Consulting for NJDOT. Need a motion?
So moved.
Second. Second.
Councilpersons Aversa?
Second? Yes, I just want to confirm, so.
E. Park?
Yes.
O.
Yes.
McMorro?
Yes.
M. Park?
Yes.
Wu?
Yes.
168, award 2018 road improvements project to DLNL paving.
So moved?
Second.
Councilpersons Aversa?
Yes.
E. Park?
Yes.
O.
Yes.
McMorro?
Yes.
M. Park?
Yes.
Wu?
Yes.
169, Award professional service contract to Mazer Consulting for the 2018 Roads Improvement Project.
So move. Second.
Councilperson Zaversa?
Yes.
E. Park?
I'm sorry, 169?
Yes.
You said to Mazer, not DNO?
To Mazer Consulting.
Mazer, sorry.
Yeah. They're gonna, to oversee it.
Okay. Yes.
O?
Yes.
McMorro?
Yes.
N. Park?
Yes.
Woo.
Yes.
170, authorization of tax lien redemption. Motion?
So moved.
Second.
Councilperson Zaversa?
Yes.
E. Park?
Yes.
O?
Yes.
McMorro?
Yes.
N. Park?
Yes.
Woo.
Yes.
171, authorized participation in non-criminal stigma-free zone.
Discussion. I'd like to ask everybody on the council what it means to be stigma-free zone, because obviously the mayor and I disagree on many of the aspects of the initiative, and I'd like to, before we take a vote, I'd like to go quickly by...
Why don't you start then? What does stigma-free zone mean to you?
Well, I'd like to ask you, I think there's a big misunderstanding on your part, because this is not something where we're saying that we're, condoning, like, criminal,
Well, here's the problem. From my point of view, when you read the way the county and other municipalities adopted their resolutions, they left it as a very vague and broad notion or concept of what a stigma-free zone is. So stigma-free, regarding mental illness, that's fine. I do support it. I want to support people with mental illness, but when I was approached by this initially, I asked the person who was running the program for the county, I said, well, do we have a problem here, like that we need to actually do something? Have our citizens stigmatized anyone? And they said, no, you don't have a problem, but everybody else is doing it. I said, well, let me read it. I didn't really define it. So then when you go and when you kind of dig down to the next layer of the onion, you see that there's over 450 mental illnesses in the American Psychiatric Association definition of what a mental illness is. And included in there are some very important things, like being a pedophile. That is technically a mental illness. But it's also a crime. So if we're going to have a very broad definition of stigma-free zone, let's at least eliminate any criminality, okay? So my position is, and I rewrote the resolution today in anticipation of this meeting, is to say, look, we will support people with mental illness, but we're not going to support people who have mental illness and are criminals in furthering their criminality, okay? So that way, at least, we're reading what we're doing here, and we're not just taking things that are given to us like our police department did and 70 other towns did and the county did. Let's read what we're doing. And we had a similar situation, if you recall, with the animal shelter. There are some people who said, well, this is what the contract is. They're a kill shelter, but they're better than the other ones. So what I did in that situation was we changed the contract. We said, we'll use the better shelter, which is the Bergen County shelter, even though it's a kill shelter. But if you're going to kill an animal, you've got to tell us before you do it, give us 10 days to go find another shelter for that animal, okay? So just because somebody gives you something doesn't mean that even they read it or they understand it. You obviously haven't read it or understand it.
I have not?
I don't think so.
Are you saying that I have not? Okay,
Yeah,
well, let's
because
go there then.
last meeting, you actually handed something up that our police department foolishly entered into, and it made no sense at all. Okay, so here I'm saying is,
Okay,
let's not
Mayor.
stigmatize people who have a mental illness, provided that there's no criminality.
Okay, Mayor, I think this is where we disagree. The whole purpose of
You want to
this...
support pedophiles?
Excuse me, you love to say that. I wonder why.
Well, I'm just
I don't
asking.
know. I mean, you keep saying pedophiles. I
Well,
mean,
that's one of the major definition problems that I have with
You
it.
know what?
It's
So,
important,
are you
right?
going to let me finish
It's
now?
terrible, isn't
Are you
it?
going to let me finish?
Yes, go ahead.
You're wrong again about me not understanding what this initiative is about. It's not about stigmatizing people. It's about people with anxiety, with depression, with suicidal thoughts to come out and talk to people and get educated, get the support, okay? So you, by adding
Well,
the
that's
words non-criminal stigma-free zone,
Well,
that's just like going against this whole movement. You're stigmatizing because you're associating people with mental illness with criminality. So you got it wrong, Mayor.
No, again, you're not reading it properly. Again. And I'm tired of this, because...
I'm tired of you not getting it either.
No, because what you're saying is, let's destigmatize everything, so everybody is treated like they're, not having a problem. But I'm saying that there are some people who are criminals. We're not going to support those people.
We're not. This initiative does not support pedophiles, okay?
It does, because
It does not. And you know what, excuse me, I think you're out of order, and just because you're sitting on this side of the room, don't think that you could speak out of your turn, okay?
Here's the thing, Gloria, I wrote this, I didn't hear any
Are you going to
edits.
do anything about her speaking out of her turn?
Yeah, okay,
You can't talk...
I wrote this, nobody provided any edits, I got support from some council people today. Look, this is the way I'm willing to support this notion. I think it's good. I think our police department stigmatized a lot of people in those recordings, and wait till you hear them, right? Seriously. Right?
Make a comment on your lovely thing here? So I understand what you're trying to do, but from my interpretation of reading this, it's almost like you're saying that, because a lot of the police officers deal with people with mental illness, a lot of it's domestic disputes. So some people...
That's a crime. Okay? That's a crime.
Right.
A domestic dispute is not a mental illness. What caused the domestic dispute might be.
Right, so then does that person, this is why I'm saying, so that
And it
person
might not
becomes
be.
a criminal, and now you don't want to support their help, right?
No.
That's the way you wrote it.
Well, you know what, if they did something which amounts to a crime, I don't want to support them, because I'm not here to support criminals.
But those are the people that need it.
No, that's not true. There's people with autism, Alzheimer's disease, Parkinson's.
Yeah, I think Lori's right. I don't think you understand it. It's okay.
He doesn't get
It's okay, I understand.
It is,
your
it's
view.
defined action. I didn't think so either, but I read that it is, actually.
Well, now that you explained to yourself, I get it.
Yeah, I know you are.
I understand. Now,
I mean, the way
it
it's
does make
explained,
sense to me now, so.
the way it's explained in here, it says vast majority of mental illnesses do not involve criminality, but only some do. I mean, I don't see the bad part to just cover the...
You know what, the way that it's written, it's very vague, and who are we to judge, what you're going to support
So
and
now
what
you
you're
don't like
not going to
vagueness.
support?
You don't like vagueness, but you're willing to adopt something that is absurdly vague.
So why don't you come up with a list of things that you're not going to support, instead of just
Because
coming up with pedophiles?
Because I'm not a psychiatrist, so I'm just saying, hey, if it's criminal, I'm not going to support it. It makes sense. It's a compromise. I think it works.
But I think the concern is that if it is a person that is maybe not a sexual deviant as you're describing, and they just wind up in a domestic issue where they were arrested because of their behavior, doesn't mean they don't need help.
Well,
They need
listen to
help.
this. We have police officers. Their job is not to be clinicians. Their job is to enforce laws. If somebody gets arrested for doing something wrong, they will get mental health or psychological help from someone other than our police officers, right?
Well, it's not a police issue. We're not talking about police.
But the person who they just damaged or hurt or injured, they're not going to say, oh, don't arrest him because he's mentally ill. That person's like caught up in something.
But we're not saying that. I'm saying that it's about helping them, not
You
arresting them
know,
or not arresting
it
them.
was a nice publicity stunt. It was a nice publicity stunt. It's over. We have a nice compromise here. It works.
You know what?
We can either support it.
All right, so, what about the other two on the other side of the room? I'd like to hear from, Councilman Wu and Councilman Park, what their thoughts are on this.
I think our intention all along was, we were trying to designate Englewood Cliffs as stigma-free. I think we're doing that right now. The wording of it and the non-criminality aspect, I support. It's hard to go through all the details of which diseases. I don't think we need to follow exactly every other town. We want to create something which fits our town. So I support this resolution.
My point of view, I already reviewed about this afternoon, you and the mayor back and forth about these matters. I carefully reviewed about this resolution, and everything is included, and then this is no problem, so that's why I'm supporting about this resolution. That's my opinion.
So, we had a motion, did we have a second?
Yes.
All right, do we have a vote?
With non-criminal.
I'm sorry, no, we didn't have a motion in a second. No. Okay, can I
So
have a
moved.
motion?
So,
Councilperson Zaversa?
No.
E. Park? No. O.
No.
McMorro?
Are we voting to be a stigma-free zone, and they're voting no?
No,
non-criminals. Non-criminals, so you want criminals, Carol?
Just
You want
vote.
criminals? Okay, I'm voting yes on this. I can't even make any sense out of it.
Of course you can.
And Park?
No,
Yes.
you're,
Carol, did you vote, I'm sorry?
I voted yes.
Councilman Park?
Yes.
Right.
Wu?
yes.
Mayor?
Yes.
172, authorize not to exceed increase for Special Litigation Counsel Lanza and Lanza. And it's being increased by $15,000.
On what litigation?
Boswell Engineering?
It's being increased by not to exceed.
Right, not to exceed 15,000.
What is it currently?
7,500.
Can I have a motion, please?
And so we increased it,
Second.
Yeah, I need a
Are we
second.
currently at 7,500 with them?
no, we're more.
What do we got now?
We increased it the last time for 15,000. We're
there's
increasing it
another?
another 15, correct.
Carol moved it. Who seconded? Mark?
Yeah, I did.
Mark seconded. Can I vote?
Councilperson Aversa?
No.
E. Park?
No.
O.
No.
McMorro?
Yes.
M. Park?
Yes.
Wu?
Yes.
Mayor?
Yes.
Ordinance 2018, public hearing for 1813, an ordinance fixing salaries, wages, and
You
compensation.
have resolution 173.
Oh, I apologize, yes.
Okay, no problem.
You wrote it down, didn't you? Okay. Resolution 173.
Discussion?
Let me just read the title.
I'm sorry.
Authorize borough attorney to complete transaction and mayor and borough clerk to sign for purchase of real property.
The borough clerk attests the signature.
Okay, I want the Borough Council to interject here before your discussion.
Just remember,
Closed session discussion.
I understand.
on the closed session.
No, I just want to put it on the record and ask the borough attorney that after hearing what Ms. Bear said before, that we're not doing anything improperly, and
We discussed this in closed session.
no, I understand that, I understand completely, but, you know, she did bring up certain things that, you know, makes me, you know, want to ask you whether we're doing this properly.
You want to go into closed again?
I just wanted to
Well, then-
echo
This
whether
was
yes.
already
And we need to go
explained.
into closed if you would like further discussion on this matter.
You want to go?
Yeah.
Make a motion to go into closed session.
Hold on.
We already did this, by the way, but we'll do it again. Somebody make a motion to go into closed.
Second.
All in favor?
Gotta read the resolution.
And E. Park? Who seconded? E. Park?
Yeah.
So, this will be actually resolution, we're going to make this resolution 173 and change the number to the other one.
I already read the other one.
You ready, ready, ready? Leave it 174.
So we'll make it 174. That's okay. 174 will be, wait 1 second. Resolution authorizing closed session at meeting pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Act, whereas the mayor and council of the Borough of Englewood Cliffs has deemed it necessary to go into closed session to discuss certain confidential matters, and whereas the minutes of the closed session will remain confidential as permitted under the Open Public Meetings Act, or shall be released when there is no further need for confidentiality as authorized by the borough attorney. Now therefore be it resolved that the mayor and council of the Borough of Englewood Cliffs will go into closed session for the following matters as permitted under the Open Public Meetings Act, NJSA 10:4-12. It'll be discussion on 3 matters. Borough of Englewood Cliffs, docket number BERL 611915, affordable housing, 800 Sylvan Avenue LLC versus Borough of Englewood Cliffs, Builders Remedy Lawsuit, 800 Sylvan Avenue LLC versus Planning Board, builders sued to challenge Planning Board denial. Okay? Yes? No, we voted already. Come out of close?
Have a motion to come out of closed session, please.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, when we last left, we were working on Resolution 173.
Author, you want me to read it again?
Yes.
No, this remains unchanged.
Okay, it remains unchanged. Do we have a motion? So moved. Second?
Second.
Roll call?
Okay. Councilperson Zaversa?
Yes.
E. Park?
Yes.
O? Yes. McMorro?
Yes.
M. Park?
Yes.
Whoa. Passes, Mayor.
Thank you. Let's do the public hearing, please.
Okay. Ordinance 1813, ordinance fixing salaries, wages, and compensation for all salaried, appointed, and elected officers within the Borough of Englewood Cliffs. We need a motion to open to the public.
So moved.
Second.
Mayor, it's open.
If there's anybody from the public who wishes to be heard only on ordinance 18-13, an ordinance fixing salaries, wages, and compensation, please raise your hand and let me recognize you. Yes. Please state your name and address.
There, 49 Irving Avenue. I have a question regarding salary ordinance and previous salary ordinances. When I was on the borough website looking at previous ordinance, and it was before the previous administrator was hired, and it said that there was no salary for an administrator. But Mrs. Duffy had two positions, and she had a salary as administrator. It was probably $12,000 or $11,000. And it was just as if there was no administrator at all, like the position didn't exist. And then all of a sudden, it was $95,000 for an administrator. And that's very misleading to the public, because it makes the public think that there was no administrator and then that the position was created. But there always was an administrator. It was the municipal clerk administrator. So I don't think it was very forthcoming to have the previous salary listed for the year before as vacant, and then have the 95 was misleading to the public. And I'm just wondering.
Well, the clerk is the one that prepared that.
I don't control the website, so anything else?
No, I don't prepare the salary ordinance. That's the CFO.
Well, then,
So I'm just wondering, why, now I see that only these salaries are listed, and there's nothing for 2017, so we can see the differences.
Okay, all right. Thank you. Anybody else? Yes, sir. Please state your name and address.
Dave DiGregorio, 165 Charlotte Place. Just so I understand a little bit more, is there I know that the police department has a union, correct? And those salaries are negotiated. And our mayor has, on many occasions, very inappropriately and possibly improperly, commented on those salaries. And I think that that's really been extremely inappropriate of the mayor to do that. Those are negotiated salaries, and if he has a problem with the salaries, he should do that at the negotiating table. It's that one more deficiency that our mayor has, probably stemming from his...
You're getting off topic. The
Well,
topic
yes.
is this ordinance. So if you can't control yourself to this, then it's not...
I'm in perfect control, unlike yourself during the last...
Well, thank you.
last month.
If you have anything specific...
I do.
...to this ordinance, state it. Otherwise, you're finished. Your time's up.
And I'm going to do it right now, all right? Just like Richard Nixon. Here we go.
Good analogy. Thank you.
That was good, Mr. Di Gregorio.
Well, you have a very high opinion of yourself.
keep the
so
comedy
No, I
you can,
don't. I
you know.
just will not allow...
All right, so here we go. Is there, on any of these salaries, are they negotiated through a union? Is there a union? No union?
I don't think...
There is a union?
This is a salary ordinance we're voting on now.
Yes.
Right.
So these are agreed-to salaries that you're going to...
They're already in the union
Okay,
contracts.
so you negotiated these salaries through a union, correct?
But we did.
We didn't.
I mean, we...
Who did? The CFO?
No, the last time, 2014...
Okay, so the last time the contract was up, correct? Okay.
Well, some of these are not.
Some of these are not unionized,
They're not.
like yours. All right.
Do you have a specific question?
No, I have a discovery.
Okay,
That's what I'm
this
doing.
is not a stream of consciousness moment. If you
It's-
have a
I'm not-
specific question on
I
this...
think the public deserves to know how these salaries are agreed to.
I think that you're probably the only person who doesn't understand this here, but go ahead if you want.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it, because I think the public has a right to know, and I'm part of the public.
Okay.
Is that correct?
Yeah, what's your question, though?
Okay, so the mayor's salary is $750, and you are taking that salary?
We lowered our salaries.
Okay,
this year.
good.
We all lowered them.
All right.
That was for
listen.
the first quarter, and there's no other
In
payments
all
this year.
fairness, I mean, you put in a lot of time up here, and it's really wonderful that everyone volunteers their time. And with all of the unnecessary banter and hate, really, of one another that go back and forth...
I don't hate anyone. I don't hate anyone.
you
Go
don't.
ahead.
Okay, well, it seems like you do.
No, I don't. I don't hate anyone. I hate people wasting my time, like right now. But go ahead.
Okay, well, that's a fact, okay? That's good, and that's your feeling also. So I'm glad that you...
Mr. Di Gregorio, can you
Okay,
please...
that's your feeling, Mr. Mayor.
This is an ordinance. Just read it.
Okay, so, what do we have here? Okay, so we have, what is the COA, report prep? Who gets paid for the COA report prep?
There's an individual, there's a person at Borough Hall that is tasked with that,
Okay,
and... That's a stipend. It's
Right.
a stipend, yeah.
now, it's a stipend, okay. So these COA reports,
Please don't yell out, sir. But we know the answer.
Please leave if you can't just sit there.
all right, so the COA report prep
Right.
has all the, all right, and
You know what?
so it's a stipend.
Hold on a second. I'm going to ask the borough clerk, who understands what you're reading,
Sure.
to explain it to you.
All right,
Hopefully I can answer some of your questions.
all right, so basically...
let me just-
Hold
Okay,
on.
good,
Just
yes,
sit
Let me
tight.
just
We're not
start
going
from the
line by
beginning.
line. We're not going line by line. Okay.
So there are two unions. One's the PBA, and the other one's what we call the white collar union. And they're in their... DPW, I'm sorry. And in there, they have a 2% increase. Okay? So all those positions within those agreements, within those unions, received a 2% increase. Myself and my assistant, Rosemary Weber, are not part of a union, but we also followed suit through the 2% increase. Part-timers do not get an increase. It's all full-timers. Okay? As far as the COA person, that position does not get an increase, and it's Kathy Scancarella. She maintains the books on COA. So all the monies received for construction and renovation, she keeps, she's tasked with keeping a control on that and reporting it to the state. And that's the 2%.
Now, when you negotiate an increase, is there like a pot increase where then the employees or the union then distribute it amongst?
That's not this ordinance.
Okay,
This question-
but I'm just asking because I think it's very important
That's
that
for
we know.
public comment. Next meeting, you're welcome
Okay.
to come up and ask
All
all
right.
those questions.
Very good.
And
So,
after the meeting, if you have a question, Mr. DeGregorio...
absolutely, I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Thank you. But I will add that I would hope, I will demand that the mayor refrain from making any comments about the police officers' salaries in the future. It's highly inappropriate, and if I were a police officer, I certainly would have my union after you.
It's a public document, it's public information.
But it's not appropriate for the mayor to comment on agreed-to salaries. You are basically, you're questioning why I'm questioning this, but you are questioning agreed-to salaries. You have a problem with police salaries.
Okay.
You negotiate with them in good faith.
I didn't. I think it's outrageous, and I'll keep repeating it till I turn blue. Thank you for your...
Well, that's fine. You can dig yourself into a deep hole.
That's fine.
Okay. And those are your opinions. They're not facts.
All right, anybody else wishing to be heard? We've heard enough from Mr. DeGregorio for a month. Thank you. Anybody else? Anybody else? Take care. Okay, can I have a motion to close the public
So
forum?
moved. Second.
Motion to approve.
Yes.
Okay. Can I have a motion to approve 18-13, an ordinance fixing salaries, wages, and compensation?
So moved.
Second. The roll call?
Councilperson Zaversa?
Yes.
E. Park?
Yes.
O.
Yes.
McMorro?
Yes.
M. Park?
Yes.
Woo.
Yes.
Okay, would anybody want to submit a committee
I
report?
have committee reports, Mayor.
Councilman Aversa?
I don't want to steal anybody's thunder, but the Little League boys did a great job. Mr. Mayor there, so Carol, we had fun watching them. It's a good time. So
That's
I'm
my
sorry-
report.
Yeah,
Thank you.
so I just wanted to say congratulations
Thank
for
you.
making us varsity.
Councilwoman Park?
I have nothing to report.
Councilwoman O? Councilwoman McMorro?
Just a couple of things, Mayor, thank you. Okay. First, September 16th is our 5K run. Everybody can go to the website, www.ec5krun.com, sign up. It's healthy, it's good, get out, walk, you don't have to run. We've gotten some great sponsorships this year that I really thank the committee. William, great job, really carrying this weight on this event, and I look forward to get your friends to sign up as well. Little League EC Hawks. This was, what was that? I'm sorry. For those of you that haven't been on social media, the Little League EC Hawks, on July 21st, the 10U team made history. They won the sectionals championship. That was in Lyndhurst. I did drive out to Lyndhurst. It was a very, very exciting game. It went back and forth and back and forth, and it was, I mean, you gotta love baseball and you gotta love kids, but, you know, I tell you, this team, I'm so proud of them. I've invited them to, with the council for the September meeting, for us to recognize their accomplishments, and this is some accomplishment. So after they won in Lyndhurst, then they went on and they competed in the New Jersey State Championship. Those were played in Fort Lee. We were lucky we didn't have to drive that far that time. And, you know, again, they won one, they lost two, but you know what? They made history. And I gotta tell you, those boys, you gotta love these kids. You gotta, you know, and I commend the Little League, and I commend the group and the parents and everybody that has helped in making this a success. I'm going to take a moment here. I will thank the council for allowing the program to start. I know we had a lot of naysayers in the beginning with the sign program. which is around Whitty Field, which allows them to sell sponsorships. They raised an incredible amount of money with those signs, both around the fence and on their signboard. I know a lot of us up here contributed. With those monies, they were able to practice and get training, and with a town of 5,300 people, think about this accomplishment. They got down to one of 3 in the state of New Jersey. That is something to really be proud of.
They third, right?
Right, yeah, right. And I mean, we beat towns that had 10 times as many residents as we did. So, I mean, and they're little boys. They're only 10 years old, so, you gotta love it, and I commend them, and I encourage them, and anything we can do to help this going forward. 2 other really exciting pieces of news. American Cut said that they closed, but in their place, the Greek restaurant is coming. So we welcome them to town. And I would like to announce, and I will say that, Mayor, I had a part in bringing the Brownstone to Englewood Cliffs. I introduced them. I introduced the owners of Central Kitchen to the owners that I know of the Brownstone. They are lovely people, a lovely family. And it was the timing, it was a right fit, and we now are going to have the Brownstone back, in Englewood Cliffs, and there's such an exciting buzz. It's just a wonderful thing for this town, for this community. It's a family restaurant, and it's a place kids can go and eat, and families, and it's just going to be great, and it's really exciting there. And they are slated to open in November.
Yeah, thank you for doing that. It was great. And
welcome.
congratulations to the Hawks. I saw them playing, and I couldn't believe they were only 10 years old.
They negotiated. I just brought them together.
Councilman Park?
Yes, planning board last month, 2 new home case resolution was approved, and 2 new case was discussed, and we will continue to discuss this month also. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm the 3rd person to mention this Little League team. Truly amazing to witness the greatest Little League team in the history of Englewood Cliffs. Lucky to have a chance to watch the games. I hate to bring up the point again, but I feel guilty that we haven't done anything for them to upgrade our fields in some way. I really don't want to talk about grass or lights today, but this is what makes our town a town people want to move into. And the Little League is something that we can certainly rally around. Second point is the 5K, the Brownstone Factory, one of my favorite restaurants in Edgewater. Truly a big win, a real value add for the town. So thank you, Carol, for brokering that, making that happen. And the last one is the 5K race. Just get your friends and family out. 2 years, it's been good. I think this is the 3rd year. Let's keep the tradition going. We have some new surprises coming out for the event, so I think everyone will enjoy it. Thank you.
I just want to make it clear for the record, because he used the word brokering. I made absolutely no money. I didn't even get a cup of coffee out of it. All I did was the owner of Central Kitchen had reached out to me and let me know what their thoughts were, and I knew about the opportunity. And I said, I think I have the perfect person that could really be a win-win for you and for the borough of Englewood Cliffs. I made absolutely no money on it, and I just it was the right time. And no, I just want to say that because he used the word brokering in certain terms, but and it was my pleasure, and I know the town will benefit going forward. I'm sorry? What did you say?
Okay, could I have, the council is finished, right? So can I have, a word
Actually,
from...
point of order.
We're gonna have, Mark Neville have a few
Okay.
words, so he can leave.
And then in old business, I have something to say.
Thank you, Mayor. Just real quick, through the clerk's office as well as Jamie's office, I was
asked to send a representative down to Trenton last Friday with regard to the DOT and a proposed plan to pave 9W northbound from Hollywood Avenue through the remainder of town. That project, DOT project, is supposed to begin end of September, early October, first 2 weeks of October.
Can you just make sure when they line it, they don't eliminate the shoulder the way they did in some parts
Sure.
of it?
Okay. I mentioned actually, that was a pre-con meeting on Friday, but we'll have another meeting before that, just going to make residents aware that's coming late September, early October.
Thank you for the update. Mr. Barbario, did you have anything to add?
That was,
Thank you. Yeah.
I have, in light of the recent, Judge Farrington's order regarding Ms. Eastwood's lawsuit against, Park and Aversa, I think it's only appropriate now, because her case is dismissed, we should retake our vote regarding, the disciplinary action, against Police Chief Chaffee, right? Because the vote that you took, basically telling us that we couldn't vote, no longer is in place, and the only person that voted was Bill Wu and Councilman Mark Park, and so I feel like we need to take a revote.
But you're not allowed to vote.
No, we are allowed to vote, because the case was dismissed.
Why don't we do this? Rather, here, let me
I don't
suggest
wanna,
this.
you know-
Why don't we do this? Have council review this for the next meeting. Although, I don't think it's a normal practice to go back and re-vote once you do get people
But
able
that
to
vote-
vote. It just sounds like some...
I think we would open our doors to more litigation if
Well, I
it's
don't
not
think so,
done
'cause
properly.
when the vote was done, that was the right vote.
It was not the right vote, because it was, you basically, it was a pending, I don't think it was the judge's intention that we couldn't vote. It was pending the decision whether or not her case was going to be dismissed or it was going to go forward.
I have to go
Right.
on to that hearing. You weren't, no disrespect, Councilman, you weren't there.
I'm not supposed to be there.
I wanted to- Councilman, I was there. I did go as a member of the public. That was not what I heard the judge say, but you can look at the borough attorney, she did not say anything near that.
I mean, you're raising this at 11 p.m. without...
Actually, I emailed everyone, including Anne Marie, regarding this specific issue, and it was never responded to, and you guys were all on it. So, again, I'm reiterating.
I don't think...
All right, we'll deal with it next month. Anybody else?
And,
Anybody
all
else?
right, so we'll bring it up next meeting, right?
She can answer that, yeah.
Have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye. Who's second? I think, I don't know, Mark.